Thank you for your time. Just to remind everybody that in case you have any doubt during our session, just make sure you send your questions to our Q&A, and we will be going through all the questions at the end, okay? So today and another thing is that this webinar is going to be recorded, and then you can have access to this on our social media networks, okay? Fantastic. So today we are going through some of the benefits of using Creately on project management problems and issues that everyone has in our companies. In our last webinar, we have been through many cross-corporate communication challenges and problems. And before we go through these solutions into Creately, into using Creately, into making these things very easy with our tool, we would like to remind you a little bit of what we saw in this last webinar. So first of all, we start with cross-functional project management issues. And our presenter at the time, I mean, he highlighted that many companies, I mean, this is a very common problem of having different divisions into one same company. Maybe these divisions are located at the same building, maybe they are located at the same city, maybe they are located in the same country, or maybe they are distributed all around the world. But the point is that many departments are somehow working together for one and only company. And what happens is that those department managers, if they are doing projects and cross-functional projects, maybe not all his employees working down him have all the skills. So maybe you will have to work on project management with cross-functional aspects, with a project manager from one department, having team leaders from different departments, and also team members from different departments in order to cover all the abilities needed in order to execute the project. The point is that how can we effectively manage the communication in between all these people and make sure that all the information they need to exchange, all the ideas they have to brainstorm, how can they do that in a very simple and effective way? So our presenter went through many of those problems and presented many solutions on how to do it. But actually, one of the things that he highlighted the most was the high cost of poor communications. So he presented this very nice chart showing that in number one, the highest cost for the projects is bad communication. So we must improve the communication in between all of these people involved, even if they are department managers, project managers, team leaders, or team members. We want to be able to share ideas, brainstorm ideas, and have one and only single place where they can have their documents, they can have their information concentrated and shared effectively between them, okay? And then we must have in mind that many of these people nowadays may be working at home office, many of these people may be in different time zones or even speaking different languages. So whatever we decide to be our tool in order to help us solve these problems, this tool must, of course, cover all these aspects and be something complete in order for us not to fall in these highest costs of poor communications in our projects, okay? So we are just going around and seeing what we went through in this last webinar. Of course, you can find this last webinar in our YouTube channel. And after presenting these high costs, I mean, we actually went through the cross-functional aspects of this, because in this case, I mean, all our people involved is working for my company, maybe different divisions of my company, but they're all working on my company. So they're somehow my colleagues, right? And we went not only through the cross-functional aspects of the communication problems, but also showing that each day more, it is more and more important that our company is able actually to do cross-corporate communication. So I don't want only my employees to communicate and have one single place in order to share ideas, in order to share information, but rather I want my company to do the same with my contractors. I want my company to do the same with my customers. So at this point, we see that we need now to actually evolve from a cross-functional ability to a cross-corporate and make the things and the information to be shared not only inside my company, but rather with all the people involved in a big project, not only my people itself, okay? So in this case, I can actually count with information directly from my contractor being directly inputted into my system, not only by me. I mean, I don't have to receive an email to input the thing here. He can do it himself, right? So we went through this, and at the end, he actually showed many of these requirements. So if I want to find a solution in order to support me on those problems, in order to help me solve those problems, first of all, this must be a cloud-based solution. Because of course, if I have people distributed all over the city, or maybe distributed in their houses, in their offices, in different offices, in different cities, or even different countries, I need this thing to be cloud-based. So I cannot count on a desktop solution and expect it to work, right? We need this thing to provide easy access for the information for everybody. It must be very professional, because even I'm dealing here with maybe restrict information from my company. And most of all, it must be easy for beginners, but also to have a lot of functions if I need some expert inputs, right? I want everybody to be able to use it. And then each of the items he were covering, I mean, we could actually see that in Creately, we can find all those aspects included, right? We can have fine adjustment and access of rights. So we can have different users. Each user can has his own language. I mean, we can have different configurations, and each one, even if they're sharing the same document, they can have all their system working, for example, in different languages. So if I'm speaking English, I can be here using a document, but with all my menu in English. But if my colleague is in Spain, speaking in Spanish, all the menu is in Spanish, although we are sharing the same document, okay? So at the end, he said, one of the most important things for me, it is that this solution must be fun to work with. Of course, I don't want to something boring, something that slows me down, or that I have to do 1,000 of steps in order to use it. I want something that is like child stuff. So this is for sure one of the best aspects of Creately. And we would like at the end to show you a little bit more on how we will cover some of these cross-functional and cross-corporate communication aspects. Okay, so I leave now with my friend Oshala, that will show you guys a little bit more. And very soon I will come back here with some of the cross-functional and cross-corporate aspects of Creately. Okay, Oshala, with you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Victory, for that recap on our last week's topics. Can everyone see me? Yeah, all good. Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start with sharing my screen in a touch in a moment. So before that, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our weekly webinar series. This is the series that we've been doing for a while now, and as we make progress, we are getting into use case based webinars. So this one, as you know, is on project management. And thanks, Victory, for taking us through on some of those cross-functional radiators, as well as, most importantly, the key elements that we need to look out when we select a tool that's going to help us do what we need to do in project management, in product management, or in task management. By and large, as Victory said, those last 8 points that Victory shared, which is what Oliver shared in his presentation, I want to touch on each of them and showcase how Creately is going to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your project. It needs to be fun. Working backwards, it needs to be able to connect you with corporate and data providers. That's what Creately does. Trustworthiness, being cloud-based, professional impression. I'm going to show you how Creately will really help you while satisfying each of these 8 that was listed to enable to get things done faster, easier, and better. On that, let me start sharing my screen. Let me know when you can see the window that I'm sharing. Okay, can I get a reaction from someone that you could see that?
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you, Victory. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time to talk about some of the really cool things that we added very recently before even getting into some project management stuff. Creately, as you know, we've been a visual collaboration space for a while now. Our primary focus from day one has been to enable teams and organizations, really help organizations to really get things done together, work together, and enable whatever their workflow may be. So from complex areas like what Victory and Oliver spoke, where the team structures are not just within the same organization, same geographic, where there are metrics kind of complex structures and dispersed across the world, getting that kind of complex work done. Or it could be something really simple where you've got 3 of you that you need to come together and brainstorm an idea to get to a level that you want to get in the project. Now you define the task and go forward. So all that, though we started with that on day one, until recent, what we had was the visual collaboration capabilities, which is where you could, of course, draw diagrams beautifully. You can put in your ideas and do the ideation on a really connected visual workspace. And where no syntaxes or semantics that would come in your way when you try to do that. Then once you do that, once you put what you want to do on a creative workspace, you could always get the team that you want to get involved and do the collaboration with them. That's what Creative was until last month. And now, what we are is, now we've moved from visual collaboration to supporting all parts of the work management. Sounds quite complex, huh? Let me break it down for you. So what I'm doing is I'm showing Creately, I'm using Creately to explain Creately. So this is your new interface to work. And when you talk about work management, it's really important that you understand this concept of work management. That's what we want you to use Creately for. We've kind of break it down into these 5 areas, which is ideation, planning, execution, analysis, and knowledge. So most of the industry related work management tools focus on the core of execution, because that's where most of us who are project managers, now we talk about the execution. The project has multiple aspects, but we always identify monitoring and control, M&C, as the 2 key areas that the project managers really need to focus. So hence, fortunately or unfortunately, most of the work management tools that are there in the industry focus a lot on this particular area. They enable a little bit of planning. If you take some of the most common, popular project management tools, they allow you to list the list of tasks that you have and then do the dependencies and monitor and control. But what they do not allow is to create that task list. Now, where did that task list came from? It's probably from a different app, a different application like an Excel or a CSV or a Google Sheet. That's a separate application from the actual execution application that you're using, and you just import them or type them in one by one. That's kind of where most of the work management tools allow. On the other spectrum of it, the visual collaboration software just focus on the first two elements of it. That's what greatly was all these years. It talks about ideation, and a little bit of planning can be done thanks to the visual capabilities of the tool. And you could design it, you could do all your brainstorming very easily, and do something like a mind map or a sequence diagram to some extent. And like I shared, the project management software, on the other hand, covers this middle part of it, but not the beginning or the end. The knowledge management software, on the other hand, would be very doc-based, very document-based, hence, and they focus purely on knowledge. Whereas with new Creately, what we call as Creately 4.0, what we try to enable is something like this, where the ideation and planning is to covered, and execution for most part you could do on Creately itself. And we have the analytics, as well as, because the data resides within Creately, the knowledge part retains within Creately as well. I want to jump back to this slide. There are some new platforms that have come up, which call themselves the work management platform. They're doing a really good job at certain areas of it. What they do is they provide some part of planning, some part of execution, and like Creately, what we do right now, they retain the knowledge within the applications as well. So hence their knowledge is really good. But what they also lack for most part is the full-on execution aspect capability, as well as the planning, and of course the ideation, the brainstorming part of it. I just wanted to show this aspect of that, how Creately comes into you as a holistic package, not just a monitoring and control tool, neither as just a data-based tool that allows you to dig deep and do your analytics and stuff. We start from all the way from inception, where the ideas are, any idea is a good idea. We start with that, and then do the brainstorming and idea selection, idea synthesis, all that within Creately, using all the standard templates and methodologies that are used in the industry. We allow you to use any of them using, thanks to our millions of templates that are there. And then you could do the planning very easily. You could do your mind map, your sequence diagrams, your task breakdown, your work breakdown structures. Once you do that, the best part is they all can be interlinked. So your ideas and the work breakdown that you come up with, which has say 5,000 items, each of these 5,000 items could be connected to a database, and that database can be reused within Creately in any of your documents, which we call workspaces or the canvases. How cool is that? So the ideas that were there, it's all in Creately, and you can just drag and drop into various workspaces that are there. Maybe one is for team management. One of them is for your day-to-day task management. Another one could be for people management. In some organizations, project managers also are the people managers. So sometimes you need to do that part of it. In some instances, like the instance that Victory was talking about, or Oliver was talking about, we have purely metrics organizations, which runs across geographies. So hence there are certain other elements that comes in, not just people management. It could be other factors like regional and local tax policies and people policies and holiday structures and all that. So this is where Creately really helps you to do what you want to do, and exactly having everything, the entire ecosystem, entire workflow, entire work management flow within Creately. I'm going to pause there for some questions before I jump into showing how some of these things work. Any questions? Do we have any questions, team?
Yes, sir. So we have one question from Ryan here. He wants to know if now currently they are using any like HRM systems. Can they import those files into the into this workspace and work?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your question, Ryan. I'm going to show a couple of things. So this database icon that you see is the place that you would create your database within Creately. And you could, once you have a database here, you could create and import stuff. You could create your own database. You could import using a CSV, or you could import using multiple other mechanisms I'm going to show. Before we get into that, I'm going to show you a couple of other really cool things. One of them is, if you're familiar with Creately, you know that we always have the dashboard. And in the dashboard, we also show, other than these templates that used to be here and the last 8 files that you could use, we've added this section called the starter toolkit. I want to spend 5 seconds or 10 seconds on this. This is something newly that we added. That should be your starting point. Go, if you're on Creately, go sign up for a free plan and click on any of these and have a look at the gamut of information that it shows on how you could get started on any of these domains. We are talking about product management and project management today. So you might want to look at these 2 aspects mainly and have a look at the others as well. How you could get started on Creately. There's a lot of information. And also we are going to have a couple of videos included in there as well that would help you to continue your work. I also want to show this navigation panel, which is something very new and not found in even the most popular tools that we use. How often do you start scratching your head and think, where did I put this file? Even I search with some of the keywords, it just does not appear. So that's where this navigation panel comes in, where you could organize your flow of work. This could be your day-to-day work. It could be your quarterly stuff that you do. It could be monthly stuff that you do. Whatever the frequency, the cadence that you want to define, you define and you plan and organize your work. In this case, I put in some of the things that I'm going to touch base in this webinar and in some of the other webinars in the future. And just so that I don't need to go around clicking here and there and searching for my workspaces. All I need to do is just need to click on, for example, I'm going to take you through these 2 today. I'm going to look at objectives and key results, OKR planner. And once I go in there, just going to show me a lot of stuff in here. I'll go back to my earlier slide, which was the overview and intro. So likewise, I could have all the things that I want to look and connect in different workspaces, but still this acts like an index which has all the information. So on that, I'm going to jump into the product planner and spend a bit of time, and then I'll hand it back over to Victory to take you through some of the important things. So let's assume this is your task feature request that you have as a project manager. You have already gone from planning using various diagram methods that we have now, which are all just here. You could just need to click on one of the templates. There are thousands of templates here. If you're not happy with these templates, you go to creately.com/community, and then you're gonna get access to about 1 million templates there. Just need to click on this and repurpose them. They're gonna land on the workspace and start using them. That's for ideation and then planning. Once you've done that, you created your task breakdown, and let's assume that these 5 are my tasks that I'm going to work on. So one thing that we also, as project managers, it's very important that we look at the MNC, like I said earlier. And this is where Creately can help you. Like, for example, a kanban view. If all you got to do is these tasks as a beginning, you just need to have them as a list. And in a kanban would show you the status of each of these activities. So I'm going to show 2 things. One of them is something that we recently added, which is around embedding data attributes to these values. Any object that you have in Creately can have data that is connected to them. Some of them default fields, some of them that gets added depending on where you use it. Let me talk you through that real quick. For example, I'm going to use this Slack integration. Slack integration has data elements, just like all the other cards. I'm going to just go in and drag and drop it into my Kanban. And when I drag and drop it into my Kanban, I didn't do anything. It just changed shape and nicely stuck onto the Kanban. And if you noticed, the status changed to do from, it did not have a status field earlier. And when I dropped into the Kanban board, it created a status field and it got updated to do. So after a while, my team has completed that. And then all I need to do is just go in and drag and drop into done, and done gets changed into, the status gets changed into done. So you could just go in and drag and drop likewise into any of the fields, and they're going to get updated this way. And all the information that we had in Creately until March, it's all still there. It's not like we've taken them out and just added the data capabilities in. We are still your beloved visual collaboration tool. It's just that it got a lot more powerful. The little fish that was is now a really big whale with a lot more power and potential. So they're all the capabilities are tucked in here. Like I showed, the shapes are here, the assets are here. You could import, export stuff. There are a lot of new frames that we've added in. The icons that were there, your favorite icons, they're all here that you can use to beautify them. If you have any questions around any of these things that we don't get to cover in this presentation, please help to go to creately.com website, and there's a contact sales button there. You could just click on that and book a call with any of our sales consultants to get in a lot deeper demo with us. So this is the Kanban view I wanted to show. And then say, for example, this is another list of tasks that we put together. And this time I'm using, now my Kanban is here, I'm using a different view because there are various ways in project management, as you're familiar with. There is various ways of task prioritization. One of them is RISE, reach versus impact, and effort versus confidence. So in this kind of when you want to grade and rate your tasks according to this methodology, what we usually use is a XY chart where you could go in and position them based on the impact that they do or versus the reach. So in this case, in the earlier case, when I drag and drop cards, they got converted into this kind of shapes and stuck in nicely. Versus here, I'm just going to go and drag and drop this Calendly integration into this metric. And what's going to happen is it's going to get changed into a pin, because in this case, having boxes and bigger labels is just going to be cluttering and distraction. So I'll just go back to the same view earlier, go back to data. And now what you're going to see is, see all these fields just got added into this card. And now when I change the position of this card, these values are going to get changed. And what's more, the reach got higher, the impact got lower, impact got higher as well, and things changed accordingly. And what also happened is the RISE score also changed accordingly. When I change this, or when I change this one, any of these for that matter, each of these are data bound. And when I change that, the values change automatically. And also, hence the RISE score changes. How did the RISE score change when this changed? Is because we also have the capability to do formulas, just like in popular spreadsheet tools. You could define almost all the formula that are there can be used here as well, and we could use them up. I want to show one more thing before I hand it over to Victory, is the note section. This note section is essentially what we show when you mouse over here. Pretty cool, huh? So not only can you have all this data based on exactly the way that you want to have, just in the previous questions case, it could be an employee database that you're importing, and could be all the employee information that you import in here. And of course, as we know, we don't want all that information shown to everyone who goes and mouse hours here. So what we do is you define the fields that you want to show and you don't want to show. And also this area, the note section, is a fully powered. I just put a / here, and all the text formatting capabilities would come in, including tables. And these tables are like, see, this is name, And this would be, say, text, not text, say name and address. Whatever that you want to put in, you can just go on adding. This could be number, phone. So likewise, you could just go on adding columns and tables, columns and rows into that, as well as you could just type a slash and include any of the existing data fields that are there on data, and you could just tick that, and that would come in here. So that's how you would just go about adding, and you can just select what you want and get them in here. And these fields that I've added are from the data section. So the data section has a lot more, but I just want to show this. So if I go in and hover here, I'm just going to see all that information here, including the fields that I selected. So that's the foundation of how data works. This is, you can manually create data types for each of them. And also, depending on a defined object type, you could go in and create a database and import data using any of these methods. So you could import using a CSV. GitHub integration is also there. We can import from Jira, coming soon. Azure, Microsoft Azure, so anything on SharePoint will be importable, as well as anything on Google Sheets. So on that, I'm going to hand it back over to Victory to take you through some other aspects of it, and then we'll call it a day. Like I said, this is a very short, fast-paced webinar. Let's book, please go to creative.com and click on that button and book a call with us. We'll be more than happy to take you through a lot more detailed discussion.
So welcome back. And just for us to, let me share my screen. And now we are back here into our cross-functional and cross-corporate challenges. And in a scenario like this, as I told you, everybody's spread in different places, their houses, different offices, or different departments, or even countries. The question is, how can we manage this if everything starts from ideation? So in the past, we used to have people like this, everybody around the table, and we would simply invite people to come in, people would take planes, and everything would be done all around one table and one big piece of paper. This is how ideation starts. This is how brainstorming starts. And we start scratching on paper everything, and then we move this to somewhere else, right? Well, the problem is that now there is no table. I mean, we want to do this remotely, and we want a tool that supports it in a very good solution. Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but most probably in your company, what you guys are doing is like doing Zoom calls or doing Google Meet calls. And then we have everybody here. And at some point, somebody says, oh, we have to start to, let's say, take notes and organize everything. So somebody will, at some point, open one image or one file, like a Google Docs or an Excel file or a simple text file. And then they will start to put things here. So task 1, we have to do this. Then task 2, we have to do that. And what's going to be the deadline for this? And then people start to write numbers here. Oh, we have to do this in 3 weeks. Or this one is going to be done in 4 weeks. And who's going to be responsible for that? No, so this one is going to be Victory. This one is going to be Oshala. And this is how we have been doing things nowadays. I mean, we use one communication tool like Zoom or Google, and then we have one person having to control the environment and putting everyone's idea into the paper. So not everybody's having access, let's say, to the paper. Not everybody's sharing my content here. And if they are sharing, they're doing this with some kind of Google Doc support. So this could be, instead of a file in my machine with the screen shared, I could do this with Google Meets, but then I would have 2 solutions again, right? Well, the idea is that now we are supposed to do this everything inside one single tool, inside using Creately. So I could simply have one document, and if you guys have not yet noticed, this is a document on Creately, right? I'm doing my presentation here inside Creately. And I could have, for example, this document being shared with different users. So I could, for example, share with this document with Oshala, for example. And at some point, I could invite him saying if he's going to edit or simple view my document, and I could invite him. Well, this is the same for the configuration. I can say if this document is public, or I can simply send the link to another person instead of inviting him, or I can only work with people from my team or with people that I invite personally here using their emails. So actually, the process of sharing the document that, for example, we could do with Google Docs, sharing an Excel sheet, now I can do with Creately using whatever kind of document we want to plan and design here, okay? So once I do this, of course, my users now can share documents, let's say offline. So all these people here can input ideas in the same document in different moments of the day, or they can actually schedule a meeting and make a call. And you see my little face will appear here because now I'm using the camera. So my camera is blocked. So my camera would show down here, and I would make a call to the users that are sharing this document. And we could have this conversation and everything done inside one single tool. This brings me power and freedom from having different tools, from having different configurations, setups in different machines. Here in this department, we use Zoom, but in that another country, we don't use it. We use, for example, Google Meets, and then I have different standards, and now I can have one single tool for that, okay? Let me end here the call, even because I have the camera blocked here. So, this is we solving problems in our, let's say, cross-functional project management aspects. So now everybody can both communicate offline, having access to the same document, and making the ideation live in a, let's say, a piece of paper where you can put whatever. And also they can do it at the same moment in one single call using the tool. Not only that, I mean, if something is wrong, let's say that I wrote something wrong here, I can even select this object, and let me drag and drop this. So I can even select objects, and I can actually leave comments for other users. So I can actually add comments to whatever point of my document and say that please check on this image. So I'm now leaving messages for the other people that I'm sharing this document so they can actually add information to my document. And when they come here, they will check it. This will raise an email for them. And then they will receive this email pop-up, and they will come back here and actually do whatever. And maybe he will enter here this, okay, it is all right. You can move on with that. Okay, so we are actually communicating in the team with the same document and providing solutions, easy solutions for all this problem. But this is cross-functional. I mean, we are talking still inside our team. The point is that when does Creately becomes cross-corporate? So when my company now starts to share this document with different organizations, my customers or my contractors, right? How that works. The point is that once your company buys licenses, I mean, you can have licenses being shared with other companies. So let's say my company, I bought one license for me and one license for a customer. Then for this project, I can allow him to have access to this license and have full access to the tool. So during the timeline of the project, I can use all these functions with my client being able to connect to the document who is shared only with him. I mean, he's not having access to other different projects that he does not belong to, but then inputting information and having real-time access to information. So whenever I do changes, let's say my project management document, I don't have the obligation to share it with my client. Let's say send the file to him and let's say do version control inside my email. I can actually simply give him access directly to the document. And if something is changed, I can simply mark as changed and he will receive an email and he can come back and have access to the document himself. And he can actually input information directly into the document, which takes part of my work out from my hands and I deliver it to the client. So I'm actually sharing information outside my company. But okay, let's say the project is ended. I only have 2 licenses, one for me, one for my client. And this project for this client is not going on anymore. I'm finished with that. So what happens is that on next project, I can keep my, let's say, customer license and give it to another client. And during the lifetime of this new project, this other client now has access to all his documentation. And I can have as many client licenses as I may need. If I'm a big company, I can have licenses for, let's say, use of my staff, but I can also have license for use for my customers and my contractors. So this gives you flexibility, not only to do cross-functional communication, but also cross-corporate communication, okay? Of course, I mean, if you just want the client to view a document, maybe you can simply say, just have access to the free version of Creately, and I give you a viewer right to my document, and even simpler. Okay, so I mean, with Creately, we can actually cover almost all the aspects that we have seen in the last presentation. I mean, totally fulfilled, let's say. And this is for today what we wanted to show. As Soshila just said, if you have any doubts, just make sure you write them down and we will reply you today or later if we are not able to reply now. And if you want, just make sure you book a call and we will call you and we can go through all these functionalities item by item, focused on what is your main problem or what is the thing you want to be solved. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And
thank you very much, Victory. I think since we've answered all the questions, I think we're good. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Do connect back with us with any questions. We'll be more than happy to get into a call and take you through a lot more how Creately can help you. Thank you very much. Take care.